Back with another one. It's Jake Paul versus Hasim Rahman Jr. I don't want to analyze too much on this until it gets a bit closer, but I just want to talk about the press conference. It was very intriguing because for the first time, I think Jake Paul looked a bit nervous because all the other opponents he's had, he could control a bit more because they're not boxers, right? They're not boxers. They're not pro boxers. Uh, Pro boxers have dealt with that kind of talk. They know what that's all about. They know how to play the game. So I saw for the first time that Jake Paul was trying to give his little talk, chit chat, chit chat, chit chat, even when they were face to face, and it just simply wasn't working. And you could see for the first time Jake Paul was, a bit rattled, a bit nervous. I ain't gonna go as far as being scared and all that, but he was like, I bet he's thinking in his mind, actually this is probably going to be the harder fight than, Tommy Fury. You know what I mean? He's under pressure to pick a fighter, a credible pro fighter. He's picked him. And is it going to be the wrong move? Only time will tell. But he's in there with, obviously, his father is got a name in boxing. He was the one that knocked out Lennox Lewis for the heavyweight championship of the world. You know what I mean? So he's got his dad's name to live up to. Now, would he really be taking this fight and taking it for some joke and to ruin his dad's name after what his dad done in boxing? He said he took the lowest payout of everyone Jake Paul has boxed as well. Because for me, taking a low pay out of everyone else doesn't really matter, because if he beats Jake Paul, he's going to turn himself into a superstar. So that's probably the way he's seeing it. And the things like the sparring and stuff like that, the sparring with he only allowed to use one hand. Hasim Rahman Jr. is actually, exposing Jake Paul for what he is. I respect Jake Paul for what he's done, you know what I mean? Because if you've got a platform, use it. If you could become a millionaire through doing things like this, then yeah, use your platform to do that. But he's coming in against a real fighter that ain't gonna take his bullshit, you know what I mean? So it's a very interesting one, man. And he's got that rehydration clause. He has to be a certain weight. He has to lose weight. One thing I want to talk about is his dad, Hasim Rahman Jr., his dad, senior, said he hasn't taken training seriously in the past. And I remember my best friend today said, even his dad says he doesn't train hard or whatever, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. That may be the truth, right? His dad said it, so it must be the truth. But that could be a good thing, because he's probably sitting there all nice, he's not in the limelight, he's not affecting his dad's name. But now he's in the limelight, he's given this opportunity, he's got something to fight for. He can't make himself look like an idiot. He could be the first person to beat Jake Paul. He could be the first person that Jake Paul comes across that's a professional fighter and beat his ass up. He's got his dad's name. I don't think he'd be taking this for some joke. So all that weight cutting that Jake Paul's getting him to do, because maybe he feels like, he's too heavy and stuff, so he's going to lose something from it. I don't think he actually lose something from it, because if his dad's right and he's been lazy and he hasn't lived the life properly, then really he shouldn't have been fighting at the weight he's been fighting at as a pro. So him losing that weight and cutting down, that's going to make him sharper, faster, and it punch harder, because when you're at the right weight and you're living the life the right way, eating the right foods, cutting the weight the right way, and then, that power comes different as well. So Jake Paul putting all these clauses in the contract could come back to bite him in his freaking ass. It could come back to bite him, because I can see now a more dedicated Hasim Rahman Jr., more speed, more power, and had the cardio to be able to do the stuff that he couldn't do before because he wasn't living the life like his dad said he said in the press conference. So this is a very intriguing fight. I'm not giving any predictions at this point, but I wanted to make that point that all that mouth and all that talk that he's doing at the press conferences ain't going to work against an actual real pro fighter that is used to all that shit. So he's met his match here. And as you can see in that press conference, I think Hasim Rahman Jr., psychologically won that press conference. And I'm not convinced this fight will carry on as well, that it will still happen. Jake Paul, I could see him making some excuse or whatever and try to fucking, he's a content creator, come up with some bullshit to fool the people to think that Hasim Rahman don't want to fight. So I'm not sold that this fight will actually happen. But it is an intriguing fight. Jake Paul has got a lot to learn. Now it's time to deliver and use all those skills that he's learned, put them into action against a real fighter. And Hasim Rahman Jr., he's got his dad's legacy to live with. Is he going to let him down? Is he going to make his dad look like a fool? Drag that name down against a bloody YouTuber? So that's why it's intriguing. And all those clauses in the contract, as I said, could come back to bite Jake Paul in his freaking ass.